Okay, so there's 12 pairs of cranial nerves connected to the brain. So there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves connected to the brain and brainstem. Now they're numbered from anterior to posterior. From anterior to posterior. So the anterior is going to be number 1 and the most posterior is going to be number 12. So as we're moving from front to back, that's how they're numbered. Okay? Now, what was our mnemonic device again? On Old Olympic, what? A? Yes. So here, let's write that down. On Old Olympic, towering tops, a fin and German viewed some hops. And there are plenty of mnemonic devices out there for plenty of things in anatomy. This is just one I really like for this. So we're going to start with cranial nerve number 1. For whatever reason, it's in Roman numerals. So if you hate Roman numerals, I'm sorry. But we'll work our way through here. 1 is capital I in Roman numerals. Okay. What is our first cranial nerve, gang?
O.
Definitely starts with an O. I cannot argue with that. Give you a hint. It's your sense of smell.
Olfactory?
It is. Very good. Yes. Okay. Is the olfactory nerve. And that is your sense of smell. It is the most anterior. You may have seen it on the cadaver trip. If they let you look at the underside of a brain, they're just these. Sometimes they're called olfactory bulbs because they look like two long bulbs. Let's see if I can find you a picture here. Images, sorry for you guys waiting for me there. Yeah, so if you look at the underside of the brain, these nerves, they stick out right here. Like they're not like stuck up against the brain, they would move, but they sit up right at the top of your nasal passage, and that's what allows you to smell stuff. Your whole sense of smell is your olfactory nerve. So if this thing gets severed or doesn't work, you can't smell anything anymore. That is where it works. Now, like I've got a cold/sinus infection right now, so my sense of smell is not all that great. It's not because there's anything really wrong with mine. It's just that the particles that I'm trying to smell can't reach that part of my brain because my nasal passages are swollen, which won't let stuff back there. Okay, cranial nerve number 2. And remember, 2 is just I, because we can put up to 3 I's together and get away with it. Okay? Cranial nerve number 2 is going to be, what's it going to start with? It's O, okay? And gang, it should have been optic nerve. Did I write ocular? Because that's my bad if I did. Let me look on the quiz here real quick. Yeah, the optic nerve. Yep. So, optic nerve. This is attached to the back of your eye. So, this is vision. So, everything that you can see has to do with the optic nerve. So there's a big old cable coming out of the back of your eyeballs that's connecting your eyes to your brain. I'm trying to get this picture up here. This is a pretty good one. Yeah. This is small. You can't really see it all that great. Zoom in. Yeah. So see, it's a little further back. These two connect to your eyes. So like all the visual information coming from your eyes to your brain goes over the optic nerve. All right, and again, for Roman numerals, we can put up to 3 eyes in a row and get away with it. What's the third one going to start with? Oh, it is. Okay, let's break that one down. What does oculo mean?
Eye.
It means eye. What does motor mean?
Movement.
Correct. So what do you think this thing does?
Moves your eye.
That's exactly what it does. Most of the time, these things are trying to tell you what they do or where they're located or what they're attached to. So this moves the eye and also constricts the pupil. Okay, so it's not just the muscles outside of the eye, but there's muscles inside of the eye as well. Like, I don't know how well this is going to work, but I'll try it. Like, if you have a bright light shine into your eye. It's my eye. Can you see my eye on there? Sort of. If I shine a bright light, my pupil should constrict. You can't see it, can you?
You can.
Yeah. So the brighter the light, your pupil gets smaller because you're basically, your eye's like, listen, I don't need quite that much light. Okay, so it shrinks down. And so this also moves your eye. It's not the only one that moves your eye, as we'll get into here in just a second. But this is the main eye muscle movement nerve. Okay, now we're in cranial nerve 4. How do I write a 4 in Roman numerals? IV. Because V is 5, and putting the I to the left of it is saying this is 1 less than 5. Because we can't write any more in a row. The most we can do in a row is 3. So now we have on Old Olympic. Where are we at now?
Tower.
We're at towering. And in this case, we're dealing with something called the trochlear nerve. Now, the trochlear nerve is interesting because trochlea. Let me give you this first here, and then I'll tell you. Okay. It moves the superior oblique muscle above the eye. You're like, wow, that is not helpful in any way at all whatsoever, Mr. Helly. I understand. Let me explain. So you've got 6 main muscles surrounding the eye. Okay. 4 of them start with rectus, lateral rectus, superior rectus, inferior rectus, and the like. Okay. The word trochlea means pulley. Okay? That's where this term comes from. I want you to look at the superior oblique muscle for just a second. So here's an eye. Here's the 6 muscles attached to it. Look at this superior oblique. It actually comes from this way, loops around this pulley, which is a ligament, and then attaches to the surface of the eye. But because that nerve attaches to a muscle that goes through a pulley, That's why it's called the trochlear nerve. Okay. And this, like, think about this. This is your whole sense of smell. This is your whole sense of vision. This is moving almost every muscle that's in the eye and outside the eye. And then here's this dude just moving one muscle. So their functions are pretty, like, varied as far as, like, some do a lot of stuff and some just do a few things. So cranial nerve number 5 on old Olympic towering what? Tops. So now we got one called a trigeminal. Trigeminal nerve. And trigeminal means in 3 parts. Okay? And you may or may not want to touch your face because it's really bad for acne. I remember I had a really bad acne in high school. My wrestling coach is like, at all costs, do not touch your face with your hands. Because I'd sit in class like this and like lean on my hands and stuff like that. He's like, that just makes it way worse because your hands are nasty. But so you don't have to do this. I'm going to stick my face in here again. Trigeminal, 3 fingers. Can you see that or no? Yeah. So I've got one going down to my jaw, one to my like cheekbone, and one to my eye. That's what that nerve does. That's why it's trigeminal. It has 3 branches that go on your face. A branch of one of those is going to get numbed if you ever get like dental work on your lower jaw. They're going to try to target that nerve and numb that nerve so you don't have to feel the pain in that jaw. Trigeminal is responsible for sensation in your face. Okay. So, sensation in face, as well as chewing and blinking, or blink reflex. So that's what trigeminal does. So it gives most of the sensation in your face. If you blink in response to something being thrown at you, it's the trigeminal that's reacting to that. And also when you're chewing your food and stuff like that, that's the trigeminal that's activating it. So some of these are sensory, some of these are motor, some of these are both. Like this one is entirely sensory and so is this one. This one's entirely motor, this one is both. Okay, so it's got tracks going both directions. Now, how do I write a 6 in Roman numerals?
VI.
VI. In other words, it's one more than V. So, on old Olympic towering tops, now what? A. And this is abducens. Abducens. And you can put nerve after all of these right here. This is another one of those. This is another one of those that only attaches to a single muscle. What movement of muscle did we learn that sounds like abducens? Abduction, yeah. Which means to move away from the midline. So this abducts the eye. Okay? It moves the eye away from the midline. Specifically, it innervates. Innervates. If you see this word, it means puts a nerve into. Innervate. It puts a nerve into. Innervates the lateral rectus muscle of the eye. And again, you're like, my gosh, are these all related to the eye? I'd say a lot of them are. Yeah, and at least one way or another. Everything we've named so far, with the exception of olfactory, and somehow either affects the eye or things that surround the eye. So I'm going to go back to this picture here. Here's the lateral. This would be the right eye. This is the lateral rectus. So when this muscle gets shorter, it turns the eye outward. Okay. So if you don't move your head, but if you look to your right, you're flexing the lateral rectus muscle of your eye using the abducens to do it. And I tried to figure out what's the benefit of having this. You can track your eyes a lot of different ways. Like they can both go up, they can both go to the right, they can both go to the left. You can even make them both go to the center, right? But you can't make your eyes both jut out to either side. You ever notice that? I don't think, right? I don't think it's possible to activate both abducens nerves at the same time. It wouldn't make much sense for us to do that, at least intentionally. So on old Olympic towering tops, a what?
Fin.
A fin. So we need to talk about the fin now. And that's number 7, is the facial nerve. Now this one right here, we don't have to do a lot of thinking about that, you know. This is going to give you sensation in the face. You're like, well, wait a minute. I thought the trigeminal did that. Yep. It's not the only one. Okay? Sensation in the face. Oh, sorry. I take that back, guys. Strike that. I'm a doofus. Okay. Sorry to you viewers at home. And those that wrote in pen. This one is actually going to be smiling. It's not sensation. Smiling. Other facial expressions. And taste. You will see some repeats. Like there are things that will do more than one, like different nerves that perform the same functions as others. But this one is motor. Smiling, other facial expressions, and then taste, the sensory of taste there. Okay. And now we're at 8. How do we write that one?
V, 3 eyes.
Yep. V and 3 eyes. Okay. And this, on old Olympic towering tops, a fin, what now? And. This is called the auditory nerve. If you see this, I want you to be familiar with it as well. It's also called the vestibulocochlear nerve. But for our mnemonic device, we have to have it be auditory. Guys, what does auditory mean?
Hearing.
Yep. So this is hearing. And equilibrium. And these aren't interchangeable terms, but I want you to be familiar that I'm talking about how to help you balance. The reason it's called the vestibulocochlear nerve is the cochlea is what you hear from, and the vestibule is what your balance is, what's responsible for like your equilibrium and balance. So that brings us now to CN 9. How do I do a 9?
IX.
IX. So 1 less than X. And number 9 on old Olympic towering tops, a fin and what? German. So now we're at glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal. Sounds like a complicated word, but here's what it is. Glosso means tongue, which for whatever reason is spelled tongu. I don't know why that is. And your pharynx is your throat. So this is your tongue and throat cranial nerve. And it's responsible for swallowing, also gag reflex, and speech. There's a lot there. Some of these take a longer time to develop, like speech, but you're born with both of these right here, the ability to do those. And the glossopharyngeal nerve is responsible for that. Now, cranial nerve number 10, just an X. What did the German and the Finn do?
Viewed.
They viewed. This is the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve. Vagus is Latin. It means the traveler. traveler. Words like vagrant.
Does that last one also do heart rate and digestive function?
It does not. No. This one does, though. Yeah. The reason the vagus is called the traveler is because most of your cranial nerves will stay inside of your cranium, or at least close thereto. The vagus travels all the way from your head to your heart and not through the spinal cord. It's got its own thing. When you looked at the cadaver and they removed the ventral plate and you were looking at the heart, you may have saw nerves that were attached to the surface of the heart coming from like the neck area. That's the vagus nerve. This nerve does the exact same thing as above. So this is where we'll see the repeat here. Swallowing, gag reflex, speech. But this one also does heart rate and digestion. And when you think of this, I want you to think of this as a parasympathetic. It's parasympathetic in its response. In other words, it slows your heart rate, calms you down, and it also increases your digestion. But it also does these other things. So like they're not mutually exclusive. The jobs of these two are similar. It's just that the vagus does more. So what did they view? The Finn and German viewed what? Sum first. Yeah, sum hop. So let's do sum. Cranial nerve XI. This guy is 11. Is the spinal accessory. And this one, you might not expect. This one's going to work your traps. Okay? This allows you to turn your head, which would be your sternocleidomastoid, and also to shrug your shoulders. So the spinal accessory comes from your brain, and it innervates those two muscles, sternocleidomastoid and also the trapezius muscles. Finally, CNXII, or 12, is going to be, they viewed some, what was it? Hops. And this right here is hypoglossal. What does hypo mean again? Below. And we established that glosso means what? The tongue. This one allows you to stick your tongue out. You're like, why would I ever need to do that unless I'm doing like na-na-na-na-na-na or something, right? Anytime you're protruding your tongue forward, whether you're chewing or speaking, it takes the hypoglossal nerve to actually push the tongue outward. Okay, that should do it.